Oh, oh, it's Wisdom Wednesday. Hey, are you a short sleeper? Do you know what I mean by that? One of those people who only needs 3 or 4 hours or maybe 5 hours of sleep a night, and that works for you? Everybody knows somebody like that. If you're one of those that gets 8 hours of sleep per night, I'm going to help you with Wisdom Wednesday today to help you understand it's actually could be in your DNA. I'm Mark Sweeney, founder of Austin Dental Spa here in beautiful, very hot Austin, Texas. It's over 100 degrees for the third day in a row, and no end in sight for the next couple of days. So anyway, thank goodness we're indoors. And if you've tuned in before, you know that every Wednesday about this time, we do a Facebook Live we call Wisdom Wednesday for about the last 7 years. And I try to bring you some interesting information about recent research, usually very hot off the press research. Today is no difference. It's actually based on an earlier study, but they took it on down the road a step further. And you also know that we have a theme every month, which I introduced. May last week was the first Wisdom Wednesday in May, and we are doing some fun with Mindful May to give you a chance for introspection and mindfulness, and to kind of put your brain at ease and get ready for the summer months that are coming. There's lots of graduations going on, lots of people getting their kids ready for summer camps, etc. So it's kind of a hectic time of the year, this time of the year, but we're going to try to help through the rest of the month with just putting you in a peaceful mood. So Mindful May, and today is no different. We're shedding light on what it is about those people that just don't seem to need all that much sleep. Ted Turner, who a lot of you won't even know who he is, he was the head of Turner Broadcast Systems out of Atlanta, one of the first big cable TV networks, and he was infamous for being married to Jane Fonda for a while, but he was also even more infamous, at least in my opinion, for operating day after day after day on 4 hours of sleep. That's all he needed was 4 hours of sleep. He slept from like midnight till 4 a.m. and then he was up and he did that night after night after night. I can do that for about 3 or 4 nights, and then I need a weekend to just not set an alarm clock and wake up at noon. So I got to play catch up. But this is some new research. It was just published last week. So I told you we bring you the most up-to-date stuff in Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. Sounds very official. But they found in this most recent study that it could be due to a genetic mutation. Most people need 8 hours of sleep. That's what we always recommend when we get into the drink more water, eat better food, and get 8 hours of sleep are the 3 biggies that we repeat over and over on Wisdom Wednesday that are kind of the experts' recommendations for leading a healthy life. But some people just don't need 8 hours. And so, you know, what happens when you're asleep? Well, that's when our body kind of recharges. A lot of systems shut down, digestion, things like that. That's why they say don't eat a big meal right before you go to sleep, because a lot of things slow down. Your cells detox and repair themselves from the damage that's been done. So, you know, most people say 8 hours of sleep is, even 9, some people say is better. But this study, I like when our studies come out of the United States. This was UC San Francisco that did the study, a female researcher named Dr. Fu, F-U. She and her team analyzed genomes starting with a mother and a daughter who both had naturally short sleeper syndrome, where they call it NSS, naturally short sleeper syndrome, the mother and the daughter. And they were able to identify a mutation in a gene in their DNA sequence that regulated circadian rhythm. With circadian rhythm is the natural clock or internal calendar that we all have, that when the sun goes down, it tells your body it's time to start getting ready to go to sleep. And when the sun comes up, for most people, that's kind of the wake-up call, and our body clocks actually change in sequence with that. People in areas that don't get a lot of sunlight, a lot of them have seasonal affective disorder where they don't get enough sunlight for their body to function well, and they have special beds that they can lay in that give them artificial sunlight to help reset their circadian rhythms. But anyway, Dr. Fu and her team started with a mother-daughter team, and that got their juices flowing about, is there more to this? And so they've now analyzed hundreds of natural short sleepers, and they found that different families have different mutations. It's not always in the same gene sequence, which I find very interesting, which broadens the research, but it does tend to run in families, so it's in that family's DNA, and there are just natural short sleepers. So the Dr. Fu's research showed that there was a natural short sleepers have a SIK3 gene, which is in the space between neurons in your brain, the brain cells. And they also noted that several years earlier, researchers in Japan found in mice, which apparently have similar brains to humans, we've referenced that before, mice studies typically translate fairly well to human studies. Well, on the flip side of the coin, in Japan several years ago, researchers found that this SIK3 gene caused mice to be unusually sleepy. So they slept more. Mice sleep like 12 hours a day, like my dog at home. He sleeps more than any dog I've ever seen. He's up for about 2 hours every day and sleeps 22. But this SIK3 gene, the Dr. Fu's group genetically modified mice, and they found that if they introduced this SIK3 gene from the natural short sleepers, the mice slept 11 and a half hours instead of 12 hours a day, 31 minutes. So it's not really statistically significant, but it suggested that that gene, that SIK3 gene might, in your brain, might have something to do with your natural tendency to sleep or not sleep for prolonged periods of time. And we're not talking about waking up at 3 in the morning because you're under a lot of stress or going through finals. We're talking about people who, on a regular basis, they're just natural short sleepers. So they think that it may have something to do, since they're finding so much variation through families and with these mice, that the SIK3 gene only knocked 30 minutes off their 12 hours of sleep. It's got to be something else going on. So they're going to keep studying this, and as they come out with more information, we'll report it right here on Wisdom Wednesday. So, as you know, if you've tuned in the past, I always give a health tip. This one's a little bit of a stretch for me, no pun intended, because we're going to talk about getting your yoga on. And my researchers came up with this. I tried yoga once for about an hour. I was sore for a couple of days, and I was working out a lot back then, but it's a different kind of workout when you're stretching and doing downward dog and upward dog and twisting your body into a pretzel. So I gave it up after one hour session, but I understand the benefit. And you know, we're in Austin, Texas. There's a yoga place on every street corner that there's not a dental office already there. So here's the advantages to yoga. It's not only physically, but psychological and emotional. Every yogi that I have as a patient, they're fit as a fiddle. There's not much, if any, fat on them. So here are the benefits of yoga. Improves strength and balance and flexibility. Relieves back pain and eases arthritis symptoms. Helps you sleep better, which is why we threw it in today, since we're kind of talking about sleep. Increases energy levels and improves mood. Helps manage stress and promotes better self-care through individual mindfulness and community support. So if you're a yoga person out there, let us know in the comments and keep on doing what you're doing. And if you're not, you might consider trying it some if you're having any of those symptoms, lower back pain, stress, difficulty sleeping. That's it for this week's Wisdom Wednesday, and I'll be back next week for another version of Wisdom Wednesday.